Cetodharpanamarjanam Bhavamahadavagninirvatam Shriya Kairavachandrakravitaranam Vidyavadurivanam Anandam Durivardhanam Pratipadam Puranam Vitasvaram Sarvatma Snapanam Padam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam.
Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the UK Sankirtan Hour. This is the 10th episode of our marathon series. Speaking for myself, it's been really amazing just to hear from all of these lovely devotees about their realizations surrounding book distribution and Sankirtan. So today's guest is his name is Bhakta Ben, and he's been in the ashram in Wales for 2 years now. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ben.
Thank you very much, Bhakta Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So, is this your first marathon, or your second marathon, or your third marathon?
It is my third marathon, actually. Yeah,
that's pretty exciting. Third time's the charm, I guess, isn't it?
3 times lucky.
Yeah, but no, Ben's a really enthusiastic book distributor, and he's well known for having interesting things happen to him on the street. So we thought, I asked Gopal if we could get him on and maybe hear some of these street side stories straight from him, because he's always got a yarn to spin. Anything cool happened this marathon, Ben?
Yeah, this marathon has been quite adventurous. Actually, every time I mention a story, Gopal always thinks I'm making it up because it's always so random, you know, the things that are happening. One that's really stuck out this marathon so far was, I always think, okay, what's happening in these situations? And then at the end of the situation, you realize Krishna's in the mix. But I went back from distributing books in Cambridge, and I'd been doing quite well. I distributed quite a few books, but I wanted to go out and collect somewhere else, just to experience some little change of scenery. So I was going back to the Airbnb that we were staying in. And then I went in the lockbox and I couldn't find the key. And I realized that my dear friend Joel had actually taken the key with him to the other Sankirtan spot. So I couldn't actually go back into the Airbnb and have my lunch and everything that I'd left in there. So I thought, okay, I have to tolerate this situation. What can I do? But luckily the Airbnb was right outside the train station. So that's where you get a big flow of people, especially in the lunchtime hours. Like, people are just flooding through. And I was actually stood next to this guy selling, are they called punting? Is it punting tours where they go on the boat?
Yeah. And
in Cambridge, it's quite a big thing there. Everyone loves it. So there was this really enthusiastic punting tour distributor or seller. And I was next to him and I was thinking, oh, I'm going to really annoy this guy, but I'm just going to go for it. What else can I do? I have to do something. I can't just sit there and moan about not having the key for the Airbnb. And I'm looking around and I'm going up to people and they're getting quite annoyed at me, you know. They're waiting for their loved one who's coming off the train, or someone they haven't seen in years. And there's me going, hello, have you met a monk before? Yeah. And then this one young Indian-bodied gentleman comes, kind of looks at me really strange and tries to walk off. And he's with his girlfriend. And sometimes on Sankirtan, you just say the right thing, you know, and you don't realize it's the right thing at that time. But I can't remember exactly what I said to him. I think I just made a comment on something like, oh, I love your glasses, man. I wish I could wear something as beautiful. And he stopped and he said, what are you doing? I said, what do you think I'm doing? And at the beginning, he was like, are you trying to get people for your religion? And I said, no, I'm not doing that. Definitely not. I said, give another guess. He went, oh, you have a book there. Oh, he's like, I don't need a Bible, man. I don't need the Bible. And I said, okay, you don't need the Bible. That's fine. I said, even better. I said, this is the Bhagavad Gita. I went to explain. He went, let me stop you there. I was like, what? Let me stop you there. He goes, I got something better for you. And he goes into his bag. He pulls out a Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, with a bookmark. And he's like, I'm actually trying to finish this book. I was given it in a temple in Nepal. He's from Nepal. And ever since he's got it, he's just felt really inspired to read Prabhupada's Gita. So then I said, hang on a minute, I've got something better for you. So I go into my bag, and I told the boys in the morning, I said, I'm going to distribute a Chaitanya Charitamrita set today. So then I pull out the Chaitanya Charitamrita set, and I said, if you really want to read these books, then you will read all of the books, because they're so nectar that you won't be able to quench your thirst. You need to read more, you know? There's never enough of Srila Prabhupada's books. So I placed the Chaitanya Charitamrita set directly in his hands, opened it up. It wasn't even open. I used my car key to just slice the sellotape open and present in the books, and was explaining, you know, how people get so absorbed in Kali Yuga, but this is Chaitanya Yuga. This is the age in which Lord Chaitanya gives so much mercy. And he's just becoming very ecstatic, you know. And even his girlfriend, who was Christian, she also became really ecstatic and was just getting really involved in the conversation of like, yeah, what are we actually doing in life? You know, he's studying, but when a monk goes up to you and says, yeah, you're studying, but why aren't you studying who you are? What's the ultimate goal of life? Not just these small purposes of, you know, being a politician or studying to be a politician in Cambridge Uni. It's like, who are we really deeper than these temporary attachments to what we do for work? And he was really getting into it. So then, yeah, he takes the CC, looks at it, and he's like and ahhing, like, I don't know. Like looking at his girlfriend, she's kind of like, I want to go for our date, you know, and then looking at me like, oh, what do I do? And I said, you're a student, I get it. Give me everything that's left in your bank account. And he opens his bank account. He has something like £45 left. And they were going to use that to go on a date. And he's looking at her and then like looking at me. And he's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, put 45 on the card reader. And then he taps it and then he walks away. But the best thing is I got his contact. So then later on in the week, he messaged me and he's saying, you know, like, since meeting you, I've counted how many pages I've got left. And I've looked at that thing you told me about, you know, be a sage page by page. And I've calculated I just need to read 20 pages a day for the next month and I'll be finished. And then he goes, then I'll start on the books that you gave me. And I got him in contact with the local devotees there. And yeah, this is one story that really touched me. Reason why is because I had the opportunity to either lament, just get really mental and annoyed with Joel for leaving the key, or taking the key, sorry. But then I was like, hang on a minute, no, I'm on the marathon. There's no time to get mental. I have to just keep distributing books and be engaged. So that was a really profound experience. That's one of many.
Pretty cool. Just hearing you speak there is really interesting. Like, it seems like the way that you're interacting with people, you're being very bold, almost like taking a lot of risks, taking a lot of chances. What do you think inspires you to be bold? And, you know, because just to be quite direct with people can be quite intimidating. It's almost like you enter some kind of flow state and you're just kind of saying things. What's behind that?
I think we just came back from India. It was my first trip, actually, going to all the different dhams. We went to Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. And when you see so many people bowing down to Prabhupada and showing me respect every single day, it's like very powerful experience. You realize that Prabhupada did so much to preach in the West, and his mood was one of boldness. He was completely going out there on his own in the cold and distributing books to people. You know, he wrote these books and he distributed these books. So that the little bit I can do in this small life is, you know, give myself to a service which might be challenging sometimes because you have to rise above the awkwardness. But when you start to get little glimpses of faith, and you also experience something, reciprocation, then that fuels you to be more bold, because you know that there is something deeper in Krishna consciousness. It's not just a philosophy, you know. There's a relationship which happens, which you build with your guru, with the devotees, with Krishna. And another big thing that drives me is, I've heard before that being humble isn't thinking that you're really low. Actually, being humble is recognizing the greatness of those superior to you or senior to you. So when you recognize how great the devotees are around us, you know, we have so many devotees that we can think about, then that inspires us naturally from within to be more bold in our service and go the extra mile. And it's not awkward. It's not awkward at all, actually. It's only as awkward as we make it with people. You know, like you've experienced on Sankirtan, you say it to me, is that people can sniff the intention. So if you're really, really crying out every morning in your japa, because the marathon, it forces you to, you have to be dependent, then you get the right mood. Please, Krishna, allow me to be an instrument of my Guru. Please allow me to be an instrument of Krishna. Please allow me to distribute these books in a way which will please you. And people can sense that. But then as soon as you, and I can tell you this from experience with this marathon, as soon as you start looking at the dashboard and you're like, please, Krishna, let me please you. Hang on a minute. How can I stay top? How can I beat this person? How can I make sure I do more Lakshmi or more books than Joel? How can I then Krishna plans things in such a way that he reminds you that the marathon isn't about the score, it's about the service mentality. So yesterday, me and Joel were both discussing this. We both have been attached to the result. So Krishna made my car break down and made me and him stay very late in Aberystwyth, and we had to go in the morning to Cardiff. And we got to Cardiff, I had all my rounds left. Joel had to do another service, and then by the time we finished that service, just about to go out in the street, we had a book delivery. So Gopal asked us to do the book delivery, and then we got out at 4:00, and everyone in Cardiff was passionate. Friday night, we went out for 1 hour and a half, got completely smashed, and but we got reminded that day it was all about service, actually.
Yeah, amazing. It's really nice to hear, I guess, that fresh perspective, fresh from the street, making me want to go out there and distribute some books myself. I tried recently. I went to Carmarthen, and I found, for me, it was really difficult to get out of this kind of, like, almost like a shyness. Like, I felt shy. Do you know what I mean? Do you ever feel shy? And if so, like, how do you break through?
I think one thing actually is quite interesting. My mum, me and Jack I was on FaceTime to my mum the other day. She was asking me where I am, what I'm doing. And me and Jack were saying that we're getting smashed. And we said, have you got any words of wisdom? And my mum said, she's very Bristolian, my mum, by the way. She looked at us and FaceTime, she went, well, you're both out there together. And that's what makes it so special. And when you're shy, you know, a lot of the time, if you're just with another person that's enthusiastic, then it just, you know, after you get a little bit envious for the first hour because they're, you know, the enthusiastic devotee, then it rubs off by the end of the day, and you're both, like me and Jack in Plymouth. Jack was struggling a few times on the street, and I was just, one day I was being really intense, trying to stop everyone. Towards the end of the day, we're both laughing our heads off, walking back from the street going, we should just do door to door. Well, hang on. And I just went, let's go in this cafe. And I just opened the door and I went, have you got the books? And the guy goes, yeah, mate. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I go to Kirtan every Friday, mate. He's like, look at the books. And on his shelf, he had all of Prabhupada's books. He's like, would you like a cup of tea? And then he comes and takes us in for like it's just, you know, so when you're with someone who's fired up, or the association, when you're with devotees who are fired up, it just rubs off on you.
Jay, thanks for your association. I'm sure the listeners have got some of the flames from you, so I appreciate it. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami